Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy my stories. Please like and subscribe, and hit that notification icon so you never miss out. Now on with the stories.
I paid cash for a 2-bedroom condo in April. It was a massive milestone for my wife and me. After years of scrimping and saving, we finally secured a place we could call our own. One of the perks of owning this condo was the 2 parking permits that came with it, one red and one green. The updated rules, which were sent to us after closing the deal, clearly stated that every owner is entitled to 2 permits, one for covered parking and one for uncovered parking. However, these rules neglected an essential detail: which color corresponded to which type of parking. Over time, I noticed a mix of red and green permits in both covered and uncovered spots. To make matters more confusing, about half of the vehicles had no visible permits at all. Given this observation, I figured that I would be fine as long as I displayed some form of permit. So, I slapped the red permit onto my car and didn't give it a second thought. Life went on smoothly until 1 week ago when I found an ominous notice under my passenger wiper blade. According to the notice, my car was going to be towed for not displaying the correct permit. This would have been laughable if it weren't so stressful because the permit was clearly visible precisely where it was supposed to be. I immediately snapped a photo of the permit on my windshield and contacted the management company to clarify the misunderstanding. I even sent them the picture, expecting this to resolve the problem. I was sorely mistaken. I work the night shift as a nurse, which requires me to sleep during the day. So, you can imagine my shock when my wife came rushing into our bedroom at about 1 p.m., screaming that our car was being towed. I shot out of bed, heart pounding in my chest, and threw on some clothes before racing outside. There, I found a tow truck preparing to haul away my car while an employee of the management company supervised the ordeal. "It's being towed because it has the wrong color permit," she stated matter-of-factly. I wasn't having it. I whipped out my phone, pulled up the rules and regulations, R&R, and demanded she show me where it specified the color codes for parking. Flustered, she looked through the documents but found nothing. When she refused to stop the tow despite this clear evidence, I had no other option but to call the police. The officers arrived promptly, and I laid out the entire situation to them, showing the R&R and both my vehicles with their respective permits. The officers backed me up, telling both the management employee and the tow truck driver that they had no grounds to tow my car. Grudgingly, they released the car, and I naively thought the nightmare was over. I was wrong. I had just managed to drift back into a much-needed sleep when my wife burst into the room again, this time in a full-blown panic, shouting that they were towing our car again. Rubbing the sleep from my eyes and cursing under my breath, I dashed outside. I couldn't believe what I saw: the same cop, the same tow truck driver, the same employee, and now the president of the management company all congregated around my car, which was once again up on the flatbed. I still had the wrong permit for covered parking, claimed the manager, citing some unwritten rule concocted earlier that day. The cop, visibly frustrated, asked the manager point-blank if she had checked the permit herself before calling for the tow. She sheepishly admitted that she had not. Prodded further, she had to concede that the permit was indeed the correct one for the spot. The officer, at this point exasperated, ordered the tow truck to release my vehicle for the second time. He then turned his stern gaze to the manager and warned her about making false claims without verifying the facts herself. The entire scene played out like a live comedy sketch, but I wasn't laughing. This fiasco had disrupted my life twice in just a few hours and left me with a sour taste in my mouth about the governing body of my new home. The officer handed me a case number and assured me that both reports would be available in 24 hours. Armed with these reports, my next step would be to bring this issue before the HOA board. The manager clearly showed an alarming level of incompetence and negligence, and I had to make sure this didn't get swept under the rug. The following day, I gathered all my documentation, the photo evidence, the police reports, and the R&Rs. I penned down a stern letter to the HOA board detailing each grotesque misstep taken by their management company. I highlighted the chaos, stress, and sheer absurdity that had ensued and attached every piece of evidence I had. With everything compiled, I finally walked into the monthly HOA meeting, fueled by rage but composed enough to present my case. Standing in that room, I laid bare the incompetency and negligence of the management team. The board members looked stunned as I recounted every maddening detail. With every point I made, their expressions changed from curiosity to outrage. "How could this have happened?" one board member exclaimed. "They nearly towed my car twice in one day based on a non-existent rule." I replied sharply. The board president, visibly troubled, apologized profusely and assured me that they would conduct a formal review. The manager who had called for the tow fidgeted nervously, knowing full well her goose was probably cooked. The mere fact that she had summoned a tow truck not once, but twice, without any concrete basis, was beyond negligent, it was malicious. And so, a formal investigation was launched. The management employee and the company president were both suspended pending review. When the final report came in, it was scathing, listing the numerous procedural lapses and a clear violation of residents' rights. The HOA board, having no other choice, terminated their contract with the management company and appointed a new team to take over. The former president of the management company faced further repercussions. Residents, incensed by the whole ordeal, filed complaints against her, and she was later investigated for fraud and professional misconduct. The weight of numerous testimonies and evidential documents led to her losing her license. The employee who had instigated the entire towing chaos was fired without any severance. Meanwhile, I continued to live in my condo, relieved but wary of what further nonsense might lie ahead. But I took solace in having fought back and made a meaningful change, ensuring that such a debacle wouldn't befall another unsuspecting homeowner. The HOA board now worked tirelessly, reviewing and revising policies to make them crystal clear, leaving no space for arbitrary interpretations. So, what should my next step be? It's difficult to say. Perhaps I'll continue my fight to make sure every homeowner is informed and empowered. Maybe I'll keep a close eye on the new management to ensure efficiency. Wow, okay, I can see the issue with the wrong colored permit once. Twice in one day is just revenge. Plain and simple, the cop made them look bad. Your car was going to get towed. It is probably not worth filing a suit because all you have at that point is lack of sleep. This kind of thing happens when you allow the incompetent to rise to a level of power that affects others. Glad to see that the board not only sided with you but went so far as to get rid of the idiots. I just wonder how much other shady shit they have done and not got called out for.
It's been about a month since I last posted, so here is a quick update on the ongoing saga with my HOA. After the previous HOA meeting on September 22nd, every homeowner received a letter stating that the board was levying a one-time $185 assessment fee. This was to cover the legal fees of $10,000 incurred by the board to defend the now no longer board member from my restraining order lawsuit, and to cover the recall election that was called for, but then rescinded by my group. One of us, who happens to be a lawyer, pointed out that every HOA board member must be covered under a director's and officer's liability insurance policy. We asked why the board did not file a claim on this policy before levying the assessment fee, and why we were being charged for an election recall that never happened. To date, the board has not responded to their question. On the legal front, I attended court on September 1st to formally withdraw my restraining order complaint against the board member who had been harassing me. I did it because the MLS listed his condo as in escrow, and I figured I wouldn't need a restraining order if he was moving out. The attorney hired by the HOA was there, and the judge asked him if he agreed with the dismissal. He answered that he did. Case closed. Or so I thought. A week later, I got a certified letter saying they were suing me for attorney fees and costs. At that time, the bill was just under $10,000. The letter claimed that because I withdrew my complaint, the board member was the prevailing party and was entitled to recover attorney fees. It listed a number of court cases in his defense. A quick Google search revealed that all of those cases involved contract law, not civil restraining order cases. So I typed up my response and filed it with the court. The hearing to determine if I owed them $10,000 was on October 21st. It took the judge less than 3 minutes to tear their argument to shreds and dismiss their case. I'm not paying a dime to the board member or the HOA, which hired the attorney. Keep in mind that this board member had resigned on September 24th when his condo sold, and the HOA attorney was still being paid to defend him. He didn't even come to court as he had moved out of the state completely. On October 27th, there was another monthly HOA meeting. Again, the board allowed no Q&A, just 3 minutes per person. About 30 owners showed up. The day before, the HOA sent out a blast email to owners telling them that the legal fees had increased to $12,000 because of a resident who continues to cause trouble with the board, and that the $185 assessment was to cover that, while they acknowledged that the recall effort was off the table. During my 3 minutes, I explained in bullet points the lawsuit and that the HOA's case against me to collect attorney fees was denied and dismissed by the court. Others asked why the homeowners had to foot the bill for a civil issue not involving the HOA. Again, The board refused to answer any questions and told everyone that they could email their questions to the board. What a cop-out. I understand that there has been considerable pressure mounting on the HOA to explain why the D&O insurance wasn't utilized to pay the legal fees. I surmise that the board knows that any investigation into the history of the offending board member would reveal that he had been accused of harassing other owners numerous times before he was seated on the board, and that would preclude him from being covered by the insurance policy. This is an evolving part of the story. On the parking issue, I discovered that the woman who signed the authorization to tow my wife's car is not an HOA employee or board member, nor is she employed by the management company. As far as we can tell, she is simply a friend of the manager. California law requires that the person authorizing a tow do so in an official capacity, as a manager, board member, or employee of the HOA. Bringing this to the attention of the HOA and the management company has got me nothing but silence. I am considering pursuing this in small claims court, as there is another owner whose car was towed that day, who was also never provided with the parking rules when they purchased their condo. They are definitely suing the HOA in small claims to recoup the towing fees of nearly $400. So here's the whole picture. I've been dealing with this nightmare of an HOA that doesn't seem to understand or care about fairness and legality. The judge finding in my favor was a huge relief, but it's only a small victory in what feels like an ongoing battle. The homeowners are starting to band together, and a number of them are demanding answers from the HOA board. It's like we're forming our own little resistance group, and our sights are set on the HOA board election coming up in February. There is nothing the board can do to stop that from happening, and we're determined to bring some accountability to the way things are run. The whole situation with the towing is another layer of frustration. I can't believe someone who isn't even officially connected to the HOA had the authority to authorize towing our cars. It's just another example of how messed up and unorganized things are. The fact that the HOA and the management company are staying silent on this issue only makes it more infuriating. I'm seriously considering taking this to small claims court because it's not just about the money. It's about standing up to this kind of bullying and mismanagement. In the meantime, the fight continues. We're gearing up for the February election, and we're not backing down. We're gathering support from other homeowners and making sure everyone knows what's been going on. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it to try and make our community a better place. I'll keep updating as things progress, and hopefully we'll see some real changes soon. They sounds like another lawsuit in the making. HOA owners shouldn't have to cover costs incurred by an incompetent board that never bothered to file insurance because they knew it would be rejected because they all knew a board member was harassing owners, and rather than dealing with that problem, they enabled it by doing nothing. Seems like shady dealings and they know it. Cannot wait to hear the next update in this saga. I'm sorry you are going through this, but in this case it's resulting in a positive outcome since the bully moved, and the other residents see the board for who they really are. I have complete faith you and your group will get elected new board members in February. Lots of you have messaged me asking for an update on this saga. This will be the final update. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and I'll give you the full rundown of everything that's happened. For the past 2 years, I've been working tirelessly to explain to as many homeowners as possible about the ongoing battle between me and the HOA. It was quite the ordeal, and most of them had some idea of the situation because the basic details were aired during the monthly HOA meetings. It turned out that many HOA members sided with me, which was a relief. However, a few didn't, and a significant number just couldn't care less because it didn't affect them personally. They had their own lives to worry about, after all. Everything changed dramatically last year when Hurricane Hilary hit us hard. The storm caused considerable damage to many of the roofs in our complex, and this was where the real trouble began. The HOA board, led by an incompetent management company, was unbelievably slow in responding to the needed repairs. We were all left in a lurch, staring at damaged roofs while the board dragged their feet. This delay was infuriating and really highlighted the board's ineptitude for everyone. The mishandling of the storm repairs was a turning point. Homeowners who had previously been indifferent suddenly became very aware of how poorly the board was managing things. It was an eye-opener. Several brave owners decided enough was enough and stepped up to volunteer to run for the board. They were determined to make a change, and they had the support of the community behind them. By February of this year, the entire board was replaced in a landslide election. It was incredible to see the community come together like that. One of the new board's first actions was to fire the incompetent management company. This was the same company that had been trying to tow my cars and had racked up a $10,000 legal bill in the process. It was a huge relief to see them go. Regarding the parking situation, which had been a constant headache, the new board made some much-needed changes. They rescinded the previous parking rules that segregated parking spots. Now, there's just one pass for either covered or uncovered parking. It's a lot simpler and fairer, and it has made a big difference in day-to-day life here. Honestly, I couldn't be happier with the current state of things. The new board is composed of sane, reasonable adults who have no personal vendettas. They're genuinely focused on taking their responsibilities seriously and are working to improve our community rather than targeting homeowners with malicious nonsense. It's a breath of fresh air. So, that's the update. It's been a wild ride, but things are finally looking up. Thanks for all your support and interest in this saga.
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.